We've all been to school. If not all, most of us have. We read and end up doing nothing else, sometimes even without a job, an adequate means of livelihood. We read burning the midnight oil, and then we become saturated, we become stupefied, and we are totally unimaginative. And that's the point we have reached. We have lost it all. We forget we are living, we forget even we are breathing. We forget the good and bad part of life. We start loving a few people and we start hating a lot of people. And we do realize this. But I don't understand one thing, why we keep on appreciating ourselves for the lighter accomplishments and the past insignificant glory and call themselves educated. Look, I'm educated. We are educated. Then we are like, are you educated? I suppose, do we really behave like we are educated? There are this set of people. They are highly imaginative. They are very busy. They are never lazy. They don't study much. They don't work. In fact, they become school dropouts. But when you observe them closely, you can also notice that they are the world's best creators, the choicest inventors, finest writers, greatest orators, and matchless personalities, and they can be collectively called as dyslexics. They are known to have made magnificent, extraordinary contributions like these: Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci. I guess we all know this. Dyslexia is a silent disability that happens at a very early stage of life, say even when the person is in the mother's womb. There is this process called as forceps delivery. When the baby is unable to come out of the mother's womb, they put a forceps, and during that process, a particular part of the brain may get damaged, and that can lead to dyslexia at a later stage of life. And of course, dyslexia is hereditary also. And this is a typical dyslexic writing, dancing letters and poorly oriented lines. And please don't think all doctors are dyslexic, especially after looking at their prescriptions. Now you can bring this movie, Tare Zameen Par, to your minds. Research tells that this is how a dyslexic brain works when a person is reading. A dyslexic person was a normal reader. A 16-year-old dyslexic guy, when he was asked to read India is my country, he read it out like INDIA, ISMY, COUNTRY. And then he was like, in India, S, my, century. A 7-year-old dyslexic girl, when she was asked to write M-N-O-M, she beautifully wrote W. Writing W for M. They have this letter reversal problems. And they also have difficulty in identifying the right and left orientation problems. So they end up wearing the shoes like this. Dyslexics are totally different people. They're not like the normal people. They do things differently. They act differently. They don't do things like the normal people do. So when they are different, they are being ignored. Our society generally doesn't like differences, be it difference of thought or opinion or whatever. So when they are different, they are being neglected. They are being scolded and screwed up for being different. And this sows the seed for their acts of bullying. They start disturbing the next person, and they are hyperactive during classes when usually normal children are asleep. And dyslexia is basically a reading disorder and not a behavioral problem, but see where this has taken the individual. We generally relate dyslexia to intelligence. No, it is not related to intelligence. And dyslexia does not need medical expertise or psychiatrists to come and do the diagnosis part for you. Every other person can. the parent, the teacher, the very next person can diagnose it. Okay. So I said, dyslexia. These people have trouble with remembering facts. These subjects, they are always volatile. We study today, we forget it tomorrow. That's normal. So what can be done? Shall we adopt this repetition technique? Repetition, they say, is a great technique. It was my first day in school as a trainer. After completing a chapter, there was a test. And when the dyslexic guy was asked to write the test, he scored really low. So I took up this repetition technique and I asked him to write it again. And this time he scored really high. And I was on cloud 9. So the next day I continued with the same process, asking him to repeat second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time. And it was the 10th time by now. And perhaps the day before the examination, he couldn't remember a word. And I had gone half mad already, but he was happily smiling. You already know what the problem is and that they can't. So who's got to change? The first and foremost technique that you apply to a dyslexic child is the art of phonetics. Like say you write A, and then you call it A and not A. You write B, and you call it B and not B, etc., etc. And dyslexics, they also have this difficulty in differentiating B and D. Remember the right and left orientation problem they have? These two letters have something in common, that is a circle and a line. During research, one of the team members came up with a solution for this problem, saying, why do you teach them both? Teach them only one letter, problem solved. Probably you can't do justice to your job when you do that. So when you're teaching B, you can actually say, put the belly down. And when you're teaching D, you can cook up a storytelling, put the ball down and the bat behind. And this really helps a beginner dyslexic child. But the grown-up dyslexic child is completely different. You cannot mold them that easily. You cannot just like that go and tell them, do this and do that, and get a very nice reaction. Like any other adult, we generally don't like being taught. So this happened that I had a one-on-one training with one of a higher secondary dyslexic student. And I was really disturbed by the way he was holding his pen. So I wanted to correct it. So I volunteered saying, see, this is not how you hold a pen. Put your tall finger below, put your thumb on one side, put your index finger on the other, and there it is. This is how you hold it. There was a murderous silence at first. I couldn't stay calm any longer, so I repeated it again. And this time he was like, I know, but I can't. I wasn't satisfied like any other teacher, We generally don't believe in the child. We don't allow them to be themselves or do it by themselves. We keep on interfering. And this time when I interfered, he was like, I know, with a grrr on his face. And I was like, uh-oh, somebody's around. And dyslexics, they are basically right-brained people. That means they can read pictures better than letters. So when you write A, they look at it like something with a nose on the top. When you write C, they look at it as a crescent moon. When you write S, they look at it like a slide wherein they can play during the class time. So this technique can be actually used to make them learn words like these, wherein you can draw two eyes and a nose in between and say E-Y-E-I and make them learn the word. And this really helps. And also you can use colors and shapes to highlight the things, the important keywords, And also the normal mnemonics which we all use, taking the first letters of the series and making them into an acronym. And that also helps. Then you can make study a game. Who doesn't love to play? When you want to teach them a word, you can just split the word into different spellings. You can make word cards out of them. And you can make it into a puzzle, a game for them to play with. And I bet you cannot lose their attention. And dyslexics, they are very kind and great human beings. Once I happened to test the cognitive level of development of a 4th grade dyslexic child, but he was put in his 1st grade, and he was asked to write a paragraph on anything. So he came up saying, I love my mom, she loves cooking. I love my dad, he's gone to work. I love my brother, he's gone to school. And then he wrote, my teacher is a butterfly. Oh, great God, he can think. He can think unlike any of the normal, globalized, technologically advanced person with a mobile phone. He can consider and acknowledge the person sitting right next to him, unlike any one of us with a Facebook and a WhatsApp account. He can be kind to a stranger and include him or her in his schedule and be kind to them, unlike any of us from an urbanized setup. And we call them handicapped, and we call them disabled. The society and school, they generally question a student to expose their limited knowledge. But see, no one is a drop. These dyslexics, they have greater potential and greater creativity, and their minds and brains are far better than non-impaired ones. So without fail, they will definitely grow up to be him. To him, failure is just progress. To him, imagination is more important than knowledge. To him, who was the Prime Minister of Britain and one of the finest and greatest leader in the modern world history. To him, who was the President of the United States of America, he couldn't read, but he developed an entire discipline and came to be called as the father of public administration. Or to be her, who could change dancing letters into dangling minds and capture millions of minds and hearts and souls and become a great writer. Or to be him, who could think beyond human imaginations, human boundaries, and make great movies. Yes, they have lived their lives, not just counted, and their memories are time incessant. And dyslexic, they have greater potential. They have, oh God, why am I not dyslexic? That I could have become a great leader history cannot forget. Thank you.